Hi, hello and welcome. So Microsoft recently introduced visual level calculations in Power BI, which I think is inspired from Tableau. Tableau already had it. So which is very helpful actually. So when it comes to financial reporting especially, we struggle a lot with putting complex DAX for some measures. So which is kind of right now inbuilt or which we could easily achieve with visual level calculations in Power BI as well. So let's see how to put up some visual level calculations and let's also understand pros and cons of it. I have a data set over here, which is my fact sales with almost 13,000 rows in it. So I put my year and order quantity, which is the sum of order quantity in two columns over here. That's it. For us to understand in a simple and better way, it's always good to have a smaller data set. So I'll just make it as all the 3 years. So we have 22, 23 and 24 data. So we have the total number of quantities sold in those respective years. So if I click on this visual, we can see something over here, which is a magic button. So click on this new calculation. So it will open up a screen over here and also the report or the particular table what we have put up. So if you click on this FX button over here, which is the formula button, it will show us the possibilities or different possible calculations what we can put in this particular table. So let's start with running sum. Okay, and it asks for a field name, which is our sum of order quantity. So I click on this, hit enter. So I get the sum. So basically what it's doing is it's adding up the sum in these two things over here and all these three together over here, and we get the total. Okay, so that's running sum, which was pretty complicated before to put it in a DAX, but right now it just works on this table and gives us the numbers, which is amazing. So let's check the versus previous. So we need a field over here. Okay, let's give the sum of order quantity again, and this second field as again the sum of order quantity. So what does previous do is it will go to the previous row and check what the difference and gives us the difference in the next row. That's what happens in the previous row. So let's hit enter. So we have 178 in the first thing, and the difference of 235 and 178 is 57, and the difference of 235 and 9000 is minus 226. We only have 1 month of data in 2024. That's the reason. So pretty interesting calculation because it was complex when we do it in the explicit measure in a DAX. So let's look at moving average. So moving average asks us the field, which is the first one, which let's give us the sum of order quantity, and the window size, let's give it as 2. So let's understand what is moving average. So for the first column is the same thing. So 235, 178. So basically what's happening here is it's adding it up and dividing it by 2, and you get that average of those the previous and the current row, and it's the same works with these two. It will add the average and divide it by 2 so that you get the average. So let's try one more. Let's versus first. So we are going to check this particular sum of order quantity field along with the same order quantity field. Hit enter. So this first row is 0 obviously because we don't have anything for this 178. We don't have a data for 2021, so it can't compare with anything, so it just leaves it at 0. And when you compare 235 over here, it shows 57, which is the difference again. And when you compare 9000 with the first row, which is 178, it will show 1 minus 168 as the difference. Okay, so it's not comparing with the previous row, instead it's comparing with the first row. So let's put up our last measure, which is percentage of grand total. This is pretty interesting because let's give sum of order quantity over here. Again, it's use a collapse all function over here. So axis, you can either give row or column. So let me give row and explain you what it does. You can see the rows has come over here. Hit enter. Okay, now we see 42%. It's not showing in percentage. That's because that's one of the problem with this. So what we have to do over here is we can write a format function around it, wrap it and give a comma over here. We can give the format how we want the percentage. Let me give 2 digits and 2 digits and put a percentage, hit enter, close the brackets and hit enter. Oops, I put comma instead of decimal, hit enter. So now we have 42%, 55% and 2%. So what it's doing is it's basically going to the 424, which is the total value over here, and it's basically telling how much percentage is 178 out of 424 and how much percentage is 235 out of 424 and how much is 9805 out of 424. So we have used rows, right? So if you have a matrix kind of a table, and if you want to compare it with the columns, you can still do that by using the parameter which is columns instead of rows. So these are the main functions or main calculations what we can do. We have seen running sum, we have seen moving average, we have seen the percentage of grand total, the percent of parent, and everything is similar, and the average of children is again similar, and we have seen versus previous, we have seen versus first. So it's a pretty good thing. Let's go back to the calculation over here. Let's increase the size a bit. Let me copy this table and let me take everything off apart from running total. Okay, we have sum of order quantity and running total. Now let me go ahead and put a measure for the running total and show you how complex it is. It's not very complex, but yeah, still this looks pretty much simpler than what we have. So this I have the calculate function over here. I'm summing the order quantity. I'm using a filter, all selected, max here, and filter it out. I'll get a running total. So let me put the same table. I'll just copy this and put it over here. Instead of this field calculation, I'll just put my running total measure over here, and this is our visual calculation, whereas this is our the DAX which we have put right now. Let's name it as measure just to check it out. Let me click on this performance analyzer and start recording. Let me click on this 2023, and if you see here, this is a measure table what we have put, and this is the visual calculation what we have put. And let me refresh the visuals again. And this is the one which is the visual calculation, and this is the one which we have put, and it's performing well as well. So it's good to use it. But one thing which you should be careful about it is that we can't reuse this particular measure, and we can only use it once in this particular table. And if you are using another table or any other chart, then we have to redo it again and again. And that is one negative part which I see. And the formatting, again, we can't use the decimals and everything, which doesn't pick the format what you have it over here. So I have a comma over here. I don't have any decimal places, but it's always picking the decimal places. So the format, I think that could be easily changed in the in the next correction what Microsoft releases. That is one pitfall which I see right now. And the performance as such, it's good, nothing wrong in it. But only thing what I see is that if we might end up using a lot of measure xylos, and we can't reuse it. So that's something which I see as a pitfall. But it's a great thing to see that this visual calculation is there in Power BI. And one more thing is that you can use this particular visual calculation in most of the visuals. Like if you click on this stacked bar chart, you can use it apart from the line and the line and clustered column chart and stacked column chart, which is a line and stacked column chart. We don't have this option to enable it, but rest of the mainstream visuals you can still use it. So that's a good thing. So that's about it. If you liked it, please do subscribe to the channel, and see you on the next one.